Hello, YouTube family. How are you guys doing? Welcome to part 3 of the SL-55 slick guitar. Only half of the guitar is here. So when I last left you, we discovered that all the frets were nice and level. But they aren't polished and there were still a lot of flat spots on them. The second video I said that they appeared to be crowned. They were, but just quickly. What I decided to do was radius the frets. So a while back, I had bought these radius sanding blocks from Geiger. I got them off of Amazon, and the packaging looks like this. So, fingerboard radius sanding block from Geiger, Guyker, and I bought 2 of them. So this one gives me a 10 radius. This one gives me a 14 radius, and then the second one gives me a 12 and a 16. The 10 would be like your 9.5 Fender stuff, and then the 16 would be, you'd be into their Ibanez and some of the Gibson stuff. That's as rounded and as flat as I personally would go. I don't like the Fender 7.5 stuff. The action has to be too high for what I like. So what I decided to do is I compound radius these frets, because they were very tall, like there's lots of meat to work with. So the first 11 frets, I used my 12-degree radius sanding block, and the last 11 frets, I used the 14. So all I did was mark every fret, and simply just ran the block with 400 grit sandpaper back and forth until I could see through the top of the marker on every fret, all the way across the fret. And that was it. So then I know that the fret is radiused to the inside of this block, right? And then I did the same with the 14 radius on the last 11 frets. So we have a compound radius fretboard now, and we have a drop off at the 12th fret, all the way down to the 22nd. So some people do it further down, like they only drop off like the last 9 frets or whatever. But I figured, nah, you know what? I never chord down here past the 12th fret anyway. So, I didn't mind the flatter radius, and it allowed me to take off less meat. So now, at least the frets are closer to the spec on the description sheet of the SL-55. So now all I got to do is crown and polish these. They needed to be polished anyway, so it's not a whole lot of extra work. And for crowning, I just got this in the mail like a couple days ago and tested it out like yesterday, I think. And this thing is the king of crowning files. They're not paying me to say that. I buy my stuff with my own money. I am not sponsored. I don't have any affiliate links. But if you want a good crowning file, get the Music Nomad crowning file. This thing is fantastic. It makes Fret Guru and Stumac just, you know what, fit for the garbage. Like, yeah, those are crap compared to this. I'm sorry for anybody who's a fan of those, but these Music Nomad fret files are freaking amazing. They are diamond files. They have 2 sizes, right? This will do the wide frets up to 0.94 and above, and the other side will do the narrow medium frets up to 0.94 and below. And man, they're curved on the edge, so you can really get into, the small areas or the edge of your fret. Or if you only want to do a spot crowning, right, you can use that curved edge. And they're diamond file on the inside, on both edges, but in the middle, it's just a smooth metal surface in the very middle of the arc, right? I don't know if you can see that there. So you will never take meat off the top of your fret with this file, ever, right? It'll just ride the top of it and it'll crown the rest of it. It's nice and heavy, it's easy to hang on to, and it does all of the work. It almost polishes as you crown. It's like, well, I couldn't believe it. You know what? I like this so much, I called my local music store and I told them to order another one because I want to buy another one. I just want to have a second one here just in case I mess this one up or I lose it or, I wear it out. But Man, these are awesome. Holy smokes. I can't believe I haven't seen a whole bunch of videos about these. Man, this is the best thing since sliced bread, man. So you see that big black line? Check this out. So I'm going to use the medium narrow side. I'm not applying any pressure at all. I'm just letting the weight of this file do the work. And I'm rocking it back and forth. Look at this. Hopefully that focused. Look at that perfect line. Look at that. It almost polishes the fret as you crown. It's like a perfect little line. That pencil line, it's uniform all the way across the fret. Perfect crowning every single time. And you know it's still level because it didn't take anything off of the top. That marker line is still there. Just fantastic. I love this thing, man. It's my new favorite toy. I'm just, every time I get a guitar now, it's like, I hope the frets aren't level. I hope the frets aren't level. So I can use this thing. Anyway, all right. I'm going to get this done. When I come back, we'll be assembling the guitar. Okay. So Earl Slick and Guitar Fetish. Just for your description reference, this is what polished frets should look like. Voila. Okay, so the neck is ready to go. The body's ready to go. I swapped the knob and the control switch. So now, you know, when you're playing, you can just reach over and change pickups as opposed to going all the way back here. I never play too much with the volume. I usually run it full anyway. So for me, this is a better setup, but for you, it might not be. All I had to do was use a stepper bit to widen this hole so I could get the switch in. I used a bigger washer to compensate for the smaller shaft of the volume pot. And then I drilled out the holes in the neck pocket so that, you know, these screws don't bind in there. And now I got to go to the hardware store and find a longer screw because, like I showed you in the last video, with this double thick plate, that's all that's holding the neck. You can disregard the 1/16 of an inch of the very tip because that's not going to grab anything. So really, there's barely any threads holding that neck in place. So, number 8's 2 inches long is the perfect depth to secure that neck properly. The problem is the neck holes are very shallow. Like I can see the point of the screw because they were barely in there. So I don't want this to split while I thread that in. So I'm just going to make some pilot holes. So I got a drill bit that's smaller than this screw. So I'm just going to mark how deep this screw is going. And then I'm going to drill the neck pocket. There we go. We'll check. Yep. Set your drill to low speed and proceed with caution, as they say. What's cool about this tape is as you drill, you know, sawdust and stuff comes out of the hole and collects around it. And as soon as this tape starts sweeping that dust, you're deep enough. Old trick, and it never fails. And that's it. Easy peasy. All right, going to be installing this little shim in the bottom of the neck pocket. It'll go just in front of the bottom screws like so. And I just used D'Addario string packaging. It's like some very stiff cardboard, but it's super thin. So this is just a little bit thicker than that little piece of splintered wood that they had in there before. All right, so next on, everything looks good. I use these thickness gauges to kind of guide me to file the nut. I used my Music Nomad nut files, and I filed these nut slots down. But now, like, the strings will be way too deep inside the nut. So I'm gonna sand some of that off, and I'll be right back. All right, just restrung the last string. I'm just trying to get this semi-stretched. I left the original nut on. I don't want to invest in a Graphtec nut that's going to be, between $12 to $18 here if I can't get this thing set up. So all right, I'm just going to check the relief, the action, and then I'll come back for the intonation and we'll see how complicated these are to adjust. Okay, so it's tuned and it's holding tune. I'm tuned to E flat in case you're wondering. And I have the relief set where I like it. The neck is just about flat. And the action at the 12th fret is just a tad higher than I would like it. But it's pretty darn close. This setup is kind of working well for this bridge to not have to go down into this cavity. If I can set the intonation and not have to move this bridge, we're golden. Let's see where we're at here. Looks like we're dead center. And if I fret the 12 knot, oh, a little flat maybe. It's a tad flat. So, so now there's pressure on the string, right? So what I'm going to do is loosen the back screw because the fretted note was flat, so the string has to shorten. So we'll loosen the back screw here just a bit. And then I'll tighten this screw on this side, which should move this saddle forward a bit. And then I'll snug up this one again. I'm assuming that's how this works. I don't know. All right. Okay, so now we're center. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect intonation. All right, let's try the B string. Okay, that one. That one seems pretty good too. That one's a little flat too. It has to move forward. All right, I'm just going to keep working at this. And if there's something weird, I'll come back. Intonation is dialed in. It's perfect. And I didn't have to adjust the tilt of the bridge. So if I need to lower my action, this bridge will actually recess into this cavity. But I think it's pretty perfect as is. 0.060 and 0.040. I'm actually going to raise this up half a turn and put this down half a turn. And we'll check that. So It's easy to intonate, it's just tedious. So if you want to lengthen the string, you have to loosen the screw in the front of the saddle right here. And then you tighten the screw at the back and you help it along by pushing on the saddle. And then you check, and if it's dialed in, then you go and you tighten the front screw again. And then you're locked in and you don't have to worry about it. It's just you're working between the strings and it's very annoying. So retune and rock and roll. Here it is. Get you a closer look. So this bridge is actually pretty darn cool. It's tedious to set up, but happy to report post placement was perfect. The bridge did not have to be tilted one way or another to intonate. There was lots of room to move these saddles back and forth to get the correct intonation. String alignment is pretty much bang on. The issue with the low E string riding the edge of the frets is a non-issue now. These frets turned out beautifully. Super nice and shiny. The weak point of this guitar now is this nut. This nut is some kind of cheap plastic nut. It's not graphite like listed in the description. These tuners are great. They are 15-1. Now that I've snugged them up, there's no issues with the tuners whatsoever. And those longer screws worked out great. Being that those square heads, they kind of give it that rough look that, you know, the guitar already has anyway, because it's been semi-relicked. And yeah, this thing looks great. I like this feature much better. I love having this switch up here, for me anyway. This guitar weighs a little over 8 pounds. About 8.3 is what my scale is showing. So, not the lightest, but the weight is mostly on the body, so it balances nice, even with a guitar strap on. Another thing I did, I used the same screws in the back I used in the strap buttons. This guitar just had the short little 1-inch screws, so I put the 2-inch ones in there, and those are solid. They're not going anywhere. So the top one and the bottom one. So now we're ready for a sound check. Clean tone, bridge pickup. Sounds like this. Holy smokes! That sounds awesome. In the room here, it sounds great. Wow, I don't mind that at all. It's like a telly tone, but with just more. Wow, this is great. Middle position. So you can hear the guitar going out of tune a bit. Strings are brand new, so they are still stretching, but most of that pitchiness is due to this nut. Even with it filed and lubricated, it's still not cooperating. So yeah, they really got to change the nuts on these, man. position. It's not a muddy neck by any means. Pretty good. All right, put some drive on that. Oh, very tight drive. The action is perfect on this thing. It's super nice and low, and no fret buzz. it's great. This thing turned out great. It's awesome. folks, SL-55 slick guitar available through Guitar Fetish. If you're gonna get one of these, expect to have to do work to it. But once you get it dialed in, super fun guitar to play. That bridge, as much as I kind of had my doubts about it, it's good, I gotta say. It's a nice piece of metal. And these pickups, I'm very impressed. So, you guys let me know what you think. Until next time, keep rocking your 6 strings. Doesn't matter what the name or the logo is on your headstock. If you like it, it's a good guitar.